Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. This is not the normal kind of content I usually make. I don't really have a goal with my channel, but it's kind of just posting whatever, like horse stuff, like stuff about Ukrainian. But I used to kind of watch art commentary videos and stuff because I'm not really an artist. I took art in high school, but I sucked at it. But I kind of got into it a little bit because I've always been interested in commentary and stuff like that. I like watching things that get me thinking and that challenge my viewpoints and stuff, so that inevitably led into commentary stuff. And as a result, I'm sure everyone knows about the creepshow art drama, and because of that, I learned about Hopeless Peaches, and I was never really a fan of her content. A couple years ago, she did sometimes appear in streams of another creator I used to watch around that time, but I just never really subscribed to her. I never really watched her videos. I think I just always had kind of a weird gut feeling about her that I couldn't quite pinpoint, but she seemed like a nice person. She seemed entertaining enough, but her content just wasn't for me. And the other day, a video popped up on my feed about Lio Convoy, and while some of the creators of those videos in and of themselves seem to be problematic people, I did want to give them the benefit of the doubt and watch them to hear their points. And while I don't think that Peaches is some evil villain, I do think that there is a lot of problematic behavior on her end that hasn't been addressed properly, and while I don't think she is irredeemable or needs to have her career cancelled, I think that she hasn't taken enough accountability as she should, and she's being a bit hypocritical. And this isn't me trying to expose Peaches or make her seem like she's a horrible, awful person, but I want to try and show the in-between gray area that a lot of people miss, because a lot of people on the internet, it's either black or white. This person is horrible or they're a good person, and I definitely want to lay out the flaws of Peaches in the situation and what she has done wrong and give my perspective. And I probably will be a bit harsh, but this is just my opinion, and I hope that some people will take this and listen to it and just consider what I have to say. So what I want to do is I want to go over some of these tweets and stuff first, and then I'm probably going to add whatever extra thoughts I have on at the end, but I'm just going to read these stuff out, give my thoughts, and we'll go from there. So the first thing I want to address is this thread Peaches made addressing the whole server thing with the explicit material being shared around kids. So the first tweet she says is, "With an old server I used to be in coming to light, I had a third party look over the exports of the server to check what was in it due to my own memory issues. About 4 years ago at the start of 2020, I was invited to a friend-only server. I wasn't very active in the server, but the people I asked to look over it did find instances of where I did speak in the server, and it made me very disappointed and disheartened with myself. Back in early mid-2020, I didn't filter myself and stay cognizant of the fact I was in a public space, and where I made unfiltered, not safe for work jokes as shown in the first two screenshots. My account is highlighted." So you did the great. Wait, do we need to give Hopeless Peaches a virginity card? A what? A V card roll. What does that mean, LMAO? We need to know if you had the epic sex. It is only given for those who haven't had their chastity lost, bruh. I have, many times. I love it. Draw their OCs with big boobs. Ooh woo. Hold up, do I see the cursed word? Do you have VR chat? No, I can download it though. Yeah, I dare you to draw me with big ass boobs. So the messages that I feel the worst about are the second two, where I was woken up at 8 a.m. by being pinged with what I've been let known was porn. I asked why it was sent, but didn't push on it either through forgetting or simply not thinking about it given I just woke up. Stop showing your hentai to us. Did I fall asleep? I think I did. Also, whiteboard sketch collab when? You did. So much porn. Oh, why? LMAO. That's it. This is gonna expose you all. I should have pushed harder on this and conducted myself better. Since I realized in September of 2020 that the guy I was close to had groomed me, I realized I needed to be better and have an understanding on how to act in open spaces. It doesn't excuse it though. In the 4 years since then, I've changed as a person. However, despite the fact that looking back at these messages doesn't trigger any memories, I am still holding myself accountable for any actions on that server. For my past actions, I'm deeply sorry. So while this isn't a bad reply, in my opinion, it's just, it's kind of the hypocrisy of it all, where, you know, like, people in the art commentary community, they'll say, well, like, why don't you come forward about things until it takes you being exposed? And that's like the issue here, is Peaches waited until she was being exposed and called out to come forward and apologize. And there were minors in that server, and yet Peaches will, like, she will crucify people for, you know, like, being in servers with minors, sharing explicit content, and not doing anything about it, and yet she did the exact same thing. Like, she knew that there was a minor in the server. Like, I know there was, like, Slimmers who was 15, and you can watch other videos about it, but Peaches has said in her own video that she was aware of Slimmer's age, and even though she was being groomed, like, I understand that that can warp how you view things, but, like, surely there was some part of her that knew, like, hey, this isn't right, what's happening here, and this happened back in 2020. That was like 4 years ago. Since then, Peaches has come out with her own grooming story, and she has spoken about it, and you would think that with her and Lio Convoy, like, hunting down predators and stuff and exposing people for doing this exact same thing, you would think that doing that would trigger her own memories of this behavior, but it just seems like maybe she did genuinely forget, but it's hard for me to believe that she was just in this server and as she was doing the exact same thing, criticizing people for the exact same actions, that her mind just completely blotted it out. Like, I also get that if it was happening during a time when she was with her groomer, that, you know, like, trauma can sometimes make you forget memories. It can make things really hazy. But I mean, like, you can't even tell me in the 4 years that, like, as she's been going through her Discord servers that she hasn't, because, like, I've done that sometimes where I just get into a bunch of Discord servers, and then eventually I'm just like, okay, what servers am I even in? I need to, like, clean this out and get rid of some of them, because I have, like, 40, like, now, and it's just too much. Like, you can't tell me that she's never gone through her servers and been, like, and found it again, and looked at it and been like, oh, what is this? And that hasn't triggered some memories. It's just, if it was a span of, like, say, 1 year, like 2023 to 2024, okay, you know, like, that's a short period of time, maybe it makes sense that she forgot or she just never stumbled upon it again. But 4 years is just a huge amount of time that nothing was done. And no, it's not the end of the world. I mean, like, sometimes there are situations where minors do get into servers with adults, and, like, you know, like, minors are going to go into, like, adult spaces, and it's the adult's job to, like, you know, like, get them out of there and not expose them to that kind of content. Like, that stuff will happen on the internet. Like, it's because minors are going to want to explore things that aren't, like, appropriate for their age, or people have said, because I know, like, there has been drama in a game that I play, Star Stable Online, about minors, like, interacting in not safe for work role plays and stuff like that in Discord servers, and I think it's one thing if minors are going to interact with other minors around their same age group in, like, not safe for work ways, because, I mean, they're growing, they're discovering their sexuality, right? But when it's in a space where adults also are, and the adults aren't doing anything about it, then it's just, like, an adult and a minor are not at the same maturity level, and there's just no comparing the two. And so it just baffles my mind, and, like, this isn't the end of the world. Like, it's not like Peaches is some evil villain who doesn't care about kids or whatever. Maybe it was just an honest mistake, but, and, like, she can't be held accountable for it forever. I mean, like, I'm a firm believer in, like, like, someone has to apologize once, and if you can't forgive them, then, like, that's fine. But if they've genuinely apologized and have tried to better themselves, then, like, at the end of the day, the healing is your part to do, because we can't ask people to apologize again and again forever, because at the end of the day, the past is in the past, right? We can't go back and change the past and change our actions. We can only try and do better moving forward. But just from the way, like, Peaches handled this, it feels very kind of dismissive. Like, it feels ingenuine. Like, it feels like she's just kind of trying to get out an apology to do damage control, and that just rubs me the wrong way, because I don't know if she fully understands the gravity of this or the hypocrisy, but I hope she does. Anyways, enough with that one. Then there was, like, this, because, like, I found some of the stuff from a Reddit post. This was about, like, glitch tail stuff from Amino. Now, I'm not really the biggest fan of Omni or Kai. I used to kind of follow them, but I know there's been a whole lot of drama, and since then I've detached myself from their content. But I do think that there were some valid points made, and this is something I want to bring up in this video, is because this really bothered me when I saw it, and then I'll get into some of the other stuff, don't worry. But Omnia posted this saying, just to add more evidence to the glitch tail Amino days, a friend of mine was planning on making a video about their friend's experience with Hopeless Peaches when they were 10 to 11 years old. Peaches said this kid made sexual assault look like a joke and a cry for attention. So this says, hello, I'm Yoko, otherwise known in this video as Jewel. I'm going to be covering heavy topics here, so huge trigger warning for SA, depression, and accusations. For a little background knowledge, this incident happened about 5 years ago when I was 10 or 11 years old. It was on the glitch tail Amino because that was one of my biggest interests at the time. At my friend's birthday party, I was SA'd by her older brother. The friends there helped me, and I had refused to tell my mom out of fear at the time. She was fairly abusive. The incident had been building up inside me, so way down on my Amino account's bio, where I thought no one would see, I put it there, just a small vent to make me feel better. It seems really dramatically written looking back, but I also have to remember, I was in the 5th grade, I had no idea what to do, who to tell. Isaac found it. I'm not sure how long after I wrote it. Initially everything was fine, and then Isaac sent me screenshots of what Hopeless Peaches had said about me in a group chat. At this time, Hopeless Peaches was 19. She said I made SA look like a joke because it's something that should be kept private, like I was crying for attention. An 11-year-old, unsure of what they were doing, unsure of what just happened to them, on top of that, still trying to process it. Made SA look like a joke, all because I wrote it in my bio? What she said made me feel worse. I saw that people would think I lied, I couldn't tell anyone, I thought that I should just push it down, etc., etc. A part of me hated her, a part of me believed her, and on top of that she tried to validate her words, to which I will never forgive. And then says, hi, you seem to care enough to scroll down here. Why? I don't know your reasons, and that's not for me to ask. Well, you probably think you scrolled here for something, and you did. I was sexually harassed. I'm not lying for attention. I'm not faking. This happened, and Katie, if you're reading this, you know my family. Don't show it. Tell any of them, please. I've been talking with people. They said to tell someone, but I haven't got the courage to do it. Every time I try, I can't. I say something else instead. A lie. So, yep, been in a huge strand of dots. I'm sorry, but they need to speak to people privately. Wow, really, Peaches? Whether it's true or not, they're making SA look like a joke as it looks like a cry for attention. Werewolf deserved his ban. Pika says Jewel's a nice person. Okay, enough of this, so I hope they listen. She is. Bye, I'm not going to be involved in this situation. So this makes my blood absolutely boil. I don't know if Peaches has ever commented on this publicly, but this makes me so mad because, and I know that Peaches has probably grown since then, okay? This was a few years ago. Hopefully Peaches has grown. I don't know if this coincides with the timeline of her being groomed, but maybe that also contributed to how she responded to things. Like, if she had normalized this behavior or whatever, maybe that contributed to what she said and her actions, but that's not an excuse. But the thing is let's say this person was lying for attention. Let's say that this was made up and they were crying for attention. what, like, people, even if people, like, they fake hurting themselves, they fake endgame, they fake being harassed, and they're doing it for attention, guess what? Normally, people who put out those cries for attention, there is still something wrong with them, because you have to think to yourself, if someone is perfectly happy, a perfectly, like, normal human being, like, they don't need to cry for attention. Like, even with people who do, it's like with people who are making this stuff up and are going on the internet for attention, a lot of times there is a more serious issue that's underlying and causing this need for attention and validation. Like, maybe it's self-esteem issues, maybe it's mental health, like, maybe they're being abused, maybe there's other stuff they've been through. But, like, 9 times out of 10, people who cry for attention have some underlying issue, and it shouldn't be, like, treated this way. I get that at the same time we shouldn't make light of serious stuff like SA, hurting yourself, endgame, that kind of stuff. We should never make light of that or make jokes about it, but I really think it's important to realize that, hey, people who are crying for attention, normally they're looking for attention for a reason. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. Like, I just feel so bad for this person. And I don't, like, it just seems to me like Peaches was projecting maybe, like, her own feelings onto this person, like, maybe based off her own experiences. But, like, and I can understand why this person did that, because, I mean, like, at 10 or 11 years old, you don't know how to process stuff like that. Like, all you know is that something happened to you and it feels wrong, and you're scared, you're alone, you're stuck with the memories, and you're scared that if you open up about it, I mean, like, even if you have a healthy relationship with your parents, I mean, you could be afraid that, like, what if your parents look at you differently? What if they treat you differently? Like, what if people look at you like you're impure, like you're gross, you're disgusting? It can affect the way you view yourself, and maybe you could say that, oh, this person should have written it down in a diary, they should have journaled their feelings, or confided in a teacher. But at 10 or 11 years old, I mean, kids are immature, they're still learning, they're lost at times. Like, they're gonna make dumb mistakes and post things online when maybe they could have handled things better. So to whoever this person is, like, I hope you're doing okay and that you've managed to find some healing. Because, like, first of all, what happened to you was just absolutely not okay. And the way Peaches decided to, like, handle the situation, even though she was an outsider, it's just not okay, and it's very dismissive. And I can't stand behind that. Hopefully she has changed, and, like, her viewpoints on this stuff have changed with her, but it just really rubs me the wrong way. So now, onto this, like, there was this, I think, about, like, Peaches, like, bullying people. Like, she went on harassing everyone she accused or even thought was collaborating with Cammy, calling them spies, minions, and by everyone I mean literal children, and constantly dragging them into her issues, making stuff out of thin air as an excuse to bully people and create, like, drama. So it's like, I don't support Cammy or her actions. As I said, I've been on the side you haven't. I don't understand. Blank has a mask, and she is more mature to know how to keep it on. She was allowed to be a bitch to me, as Cammy hates me, so she was. In what way? You are just a kid on GTA who will get upset and show people if she was to you. Maybe butting me out and asking for an apology, then telling Camila I was being a bitch for not giving one, which caused Camila and co to harass me, enough to give me another panic attack. How did you know she told them? Considering the stuff Camila said, it was obvious. Blank was also the one to say I was bullying people in GTA. She is the I'm a nicey nice kid. You know, that one manipulative one who will put on crocodile tears if her friends get caught doing wrong or herself. But you've already made things worse asking her, so I'm not talking anymore. But how have I made things worse? I'm really sorry I brought this up, but I don't think Blank and Blank were in contact to put up a show. Back then when she joined the GT gang. And you're telling me to shut the F up. For you. But attacking them like they still attack you won't bring you justice. See what I mean? You guys moved on without me for your benefit. I was just in a depressive mood yesterday and getting over it, and not even attacking them. But today I see you're all just wanting the easy road. So you're saying you don't want us to move on. Shut the F up, Peaches. I know you're still miserable, but you are making my day hard. But they're not anymore. I said how I was feeling yesterday to just you guys, and you're saying that is an attack? Wow, you really don't care. I said one effing thing to you guys privately that I'm just a bit sad still, and you're basically shutting me out. How? You can tell your blank friend. How am I doing any of these things to you? Leave me alone. Please leave them alone too. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I said one thing that I'm still just getting over and in a rough place. I know you are. So, like, I don't even know what to say about this. It's just, like, I, I get that I don't even know the full context of the situation. I'm coming at this from like an outsider. I believe this is talking about the Camilla situation, but just looking at this from an outside perspective, and granted this is old screenshots too, maybe Peaches was struggling with her mental health, but it comes off super manipulative, and even if Peaches was upset or if she had some valid points maybe, like, just the way she was handling it just comes off as being really toxic and uncalled for. Like, just like she's freaking out. And I I kind of wanted to just read that out because I don't know what to say on that aside from just like, I just kind of wanted to lay that out there so people can read the screenshots and make their own opinions. But this is in the past. I'm hoping that this is past behavior, but it comes off as very manipulative, and I'm hoping that this was just, it kind of stemmed from her mental health not being in the best place, and that she has changed the way she talks to people since then. But now onto this. This is more serious stuff about, like, the Rosa Ray Ramsey situation, which I'll probably get into that a lot later. But I just want to share my thoughts on this, and I'll probably comment as I go. Okay, so Omnia says, I'm thoroughly disturbed. This is way worse than I ever imagined, you guys. What is this?
No, what we can do is, because little slut hole here won't be able to understand.
So, first of all, one of the things that really upsets me, okay, is, like, I get that there's ableist comments and stuff, and I'm not defending this person, like, Rosa. Like, obviously, I understand that she's mentally handicapped, like, she's not fully there, and I don't think she should have been protecting predators. I think she should have gone to someone and spoken up about it, and I'm not in her head. I don't know why she didn't. I don't know why she didn't handle things better. It's in the past now, and obviously she can't go back and change that. But one of the things that bugs me is immediately, like, I didn't listen to the full call, but even when Peaches first steps in, she steps in with a very rude and kind of just, like, holier than thou attitude in her voice. And on the one hand, like, I get it that it's, like, I'm of the belief that, like, predators and stuff like that, they deserve absolutely zero respect. But what Laio and Peaches supposedly do is, like, predator hunting. Now, like, think of it as if it was genuine, like, predator hunting, and these were, like, police officers that had, like, a predator, or even, like, for example, like, like, a murderer or something like that, or a suspected criminal in their, like, like, in their office or whatever. They're doing an interrogation. Now, a lot of times, like, like, maybe they have substantial evidence, and maybe they want to tell these people off because they're 99% sure that they committed the crime, and they're just absolutely disgusted with them. Like, they can't wait to get them behind bars. But a lot of times, like, during these interrogations and stuff, even if the police are disgusted or, like, they don't like the person they're interviewing, they still try and approach it from a respectful manner, because calling people names and getting in their face and yelling at them, unless you have, like, absolute proof that they're guilty and, like, there's nothing they can say or do that would possibly, like, get them out of the situation, so it's just, like, no matter what they say, they're screwed. They're going behind bars and they're staying there. Like, you don't, like, if it was a police officer interrogating someone and they started calling them names like what Peaches just did and making comments like that, and then that footage got released to the public, I mean, you could argue that, like, the person maybe deserves it because of the heinous things they've done, but there's also something to be said for just being the bigger person, and for, like, even if the person doesn't deserve the respect, you know, like, treating the situation with respect and caution and being the bigger person, even though the other person isn't necessarily deserving of that respect. Like, the way Peaches is talking here, it's just like, what do you gain by calling her that name and making that comment? Like, how does that help the victims? How is that going to teach Rosa going forward not to repeat the same behavior? All you are doing is, you know, like, insulting her and dragging her down. That's not doing anything to help victims. It's not doing anything to bring anyone to justice. You are just adding meaningless insults. And yes, I get that the tension is high, emotions are high. Maybe it's bringing up Peach's own memories of being groomed and stuff like that, so that's bringing out the emotions in her. But you're still talking to a person. Even if the things she has done are heinous and she's protected predators, this is still a human being with feelings. And, like, I'm sorry, but you can lay into someone and make them aware of the fact that their actions are bad without resorting to stooping to their level, basically, and calling them names and stuff just for the sake of name calling and dragging them through the mud, because that's not helping anyone. So I just want to go back there for a second.
No, what we can do is, because little slut hole here won't be able to understand.
See, and then she makes the comment about, like, she won't be able to understand, which again is making a dig at her, like, her mental capabilities and the fact that she's not, like, I guess, I don't know what the right wording is, like, up to speed or, you know, like, at the same level as other people. That's just completely uncalled for. It's just, like, again, like, what does that accomplish in anything? Aside from just dragging this person down and making them feel like garbage. And maybe you could argue that they deserve to feel like garbage, but, like, is that really your place? And it's just, again, you're trying to, like, help victims, but how is making fun of her, like, her mental state, how is that helping victims or teaching her that she shouldn't do this again in the future? That's probably going to come up a lot, but that's one point I want to make.
And her mum can walk her through it.
Not taught.
Come on, Rosa.
Or you could give us your login info.
Why would they even just suggest, like, giving that she give them her login info? It's just like, you guys aren't entitled to that information, and maybe you could maybe the point is just like, oh, well, you're clearly not capable enough to handle having a Discord account or whatever like that, like, because, like, you've screwed up now, so just give us your login info so we can access all this stuff. And I don't know, it's weird and creepy and just uncalled for. It's just like, what? It's just like, where do you get off thinking that that is your place to demand that information? I mean, like, if it was the police doing an investigation and asking for, like, login information because they needed proof or whatever, that's one thing, but you guys aren't the police. I mean, like, it's just, you guys don't have, like, a search warrant or anything to, like, ask for that kind of information or to go, like, snooping through her account or, like, no, like, that's not your place.
That'd be fun.
But
no, you can. You just don't want to.
Our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I can give you our conversation.
Get your mom, you dumb slut. Right?
Again, with the name calling, and it's, like, implying that she needs her mom, and it sounds like, you know, like, Rosa's willing to give up, like, the conversation that was had, and maybe they want, like, the full details or whatever, but it's just, like, yeah, I don't know, it's just, like, first of all, the get your mom comment is implying that, like, just that Rosa is not capable of handling the conversation by herself, which, yes, she is showing that, like, she's not fully understanding what she did wrong and she's struggling, but it's just, again, it's just so disrespectful, and I can't get behind the behavior, even if, like, I'm not on Rosa's side. I do not think she is, like, a victim, but I think that Peaches could have handled the situation with a lot more respect and in a much more productive way than how it was handled, and this just completely rubs me the wrong way.
Rosa, excuse me. Hello.
Yeah.
I want your mum here because I want to ask her why she stopped her own child from reporting a child predator, because apparently your personal life got in the way of that. I want to ask your mum, who's apparently more competent than you, why she would allow that kind of thing to happen.
Again, this is just driving me insane. And also, I wanted to go back to, like, that previous thing where she called, like, she called her, well, no, I think it's still going to come up, but at one point she calls her mom a name too, and it's just like, what do you get from calling her mother names? Like, just because she's associated with her daughter who did something terrible. It's just like, you're just being nasty for the sake of being nasty. And then again, she's being ableist and being like, oh, get your mom in here and stuff. And maybe Rosa has a genuine reason for not wanting to get her mom involved. Like, it's just, like, it's driving me up a wall. Like, even if for some reason there is a valid reason to wanting her mom on the call because you think that, like, she would knock some sense into her daughter or whatever, which I don't think is really the right approach to go about this, but even if that was gonna be productive or, like, the agreed upon decision that, like, oh, this is the best course of action, surely to God there is a better way of phrasing that without being derogatory and insulting. Like, that's not going to get you the answers you're looking for or lead to a productive conversation. The more insulting and the more, like, angry and pushy you get, the more it's just going to back Rosa into a corner, and the more defensive she's going to be, and the more she's going to resist the ideas that you're proposing. You're just backing her into a corner, and you're not going to achieve the results you want to get. You're just creating, like, a situation for yourself that's, like, a never-ending loop, because when you're approaching it from that way and you can see that this isn't working, she's not reacting the way you'd like her to, you're not having a productive conversation, it's not gonna magically improve if you push hard enough, or if you do push hard enough and she cracks, well, it's because you literally insulted her and dragged her down to the point where you broke her and she crumbled, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So...
that is personal. That I have to deal with on my own.
Yeah, but guess what? You already tried to ruin the life of other people by not helping victims. Why is people like Endo's life absolute shit to you that doesn't matter? Actually, to a point where even their trauma just magically disappears within a year. But with you, oh, you have to be respected. Your personal life really has to be respected. It matters, right? So come on. I want to speak to someone competent.
Like, I just... Going back to that trauma point, it's just... Like, first of all, like, I don't know if Rosa's actions came from a place of, like, the victims don't matter, their lives don't matter. I mean, it could have been something from a case of, like, maybe... Like, I'm trying to think of this from her perspective, because at the end of the day, we can, like, there's never an excuse, but the least we can do is try and understand where people are coming from, because it may not be an excuse, but it can provide context, which can help us understand the situation better. But maybe Rosa was afraid of losing her friend, even though her friend seemed problematic. Maybe she was afraid of the backlash. Maybe she just genuinely didn't understand the severity of it. And, I mean, like, yes, Rosa did a bad thing, but also it's just like, let's say, for example, like, there was, like someone being interviewed by police, like, say, as a murderer or something, and they were trying to get this person to confess, and maybe, like, let's say, like, they're trying to get, like, details out of this person, and this person reveals that, like, maybe, like, they have an abusive partner or something like that, like someone who's been extremely abusive, like there's some kind of trauma there, and or just like even like there's some kind of trigger that the police know, and then the police end up kind of using that trigger against them, or just like disrespecting that in order to get more information out of them. It's like, yes, this person could have done a heinous thing and they deserve to be brought to justice, but using their triggers against them and like, what's the word I'm looking for? Disrespecting their traumas, again, that's not gonna lead you to getting results, or if you do, it's not in an ethical way. It's just like, yes, Rosa maybe isn't the greatest person, I'm not defending her, but if she's setting boundaries, maybe you could argue that, I don't know, it's just like, even if you want to say, well, she's a bad person, she doesn't deserve to have her boundaries set, that's not your place to make that call. I mean, because we as people, we're not inherently like white or black in terms of morality. Most of us fall into a gray spectrum, and I'm sure that Rosa has some redeeming good qualities to her, despite this horrible thing she's done by protecting a predator. And if you're trying to have a productive conversation about what happened, then you need to respect the boundaries she's laying out, because at the end of the day, she is a person with feelings, and you can have a productive conversation without resorting to like being disrespectful and trying to bypass the boundaries she's setting just because you personally think, well, this is a horrible person, therefore, like, their boundaries don't matter, their trauma doesn't matter. It's just, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, being a horrible person doesn't mean you don't have feelings, or that, like, you shouldn't have some boundaries to a certain extent.
You did what? What did you do? Come on, girl. What'd you do?
Again, treating her like a little kid, like, come on, girl, what did you do? That was by Lio, but it's just like, seriously? It's infantilizing. I can't agree with that.
I told you about the situation.
No, you didn't. You made excuses for it. And this is why I don't think this person should take your apology with any sort of seriousness to it, you worthless idiot.
And again, what is, like, calling someone a worthless idiot gonna do? That's just, it's not serving the investigation or bringing justice. It's just dragging someone down for the point of dragging someone through the mud and insulting them and calling them names. That's not helping the victims. It's not, like, fixing the situation. It's just being mean for the sake of being mean. And it's just like, what is the point? What are you accomplishing?
This is why I want to put me slut hole on the phone.
And there's the point about, like, why are you calling her mom, like, a derogatory name? Like, it's just like, how is that helping the conversation? How are we moving it forward in a productive way by saying that?
Please. This is
one point I have that's an issue against what Omnia says here. Like, it's actually parasocial. See, parasocial is such a buzzword that it's lost its meaning. Parasocial is like a term that refers to, like, an interaction between, like, a creator and their fan. Or, like, a parasocial relationship is an imaginary relationship where the fan forms a relationship in their head with the creator that it's a two-sided dynamic when the creator has no idea who the fan is. Now, to say this is parasocial would apply that, like, Hopeless, Peaches, and Rosa, like, it would either imply that, like, Rosa has been watching Peaches' content, and that, like, you know, like, Rosa has kind of, like, a bias towards Peaches and is more likely to kind of be swayed by Peaches' words, which I think a better term here would be, like, an abuse of power, or, like, the opposite, which this isn't really the proper term for parasocial, but it would be, like, Peaches is familiar with the things Rosa has done, and so therefore she's kind of, in her head, she thinks she knows Rosa and is entitled to this information. But again, that's not really parasocial. I think what it is Peaches knows she has a platform. She knows that she can expose Rosa and make this into a big deal if Rosa doesn't listen. And so she is using her position of power to try and push her into, like, bringing her mom on the phone. That is what she is doing. She knows she is in a position of power, and more people are going to be more likely to listen to Peaches than they are to Rosa, and so she's leveraging that against her. It's not parasocial, and that word needs to stop being used as a buzzword all the time when it's losing its meaning. So that just really rubs me the wrong way. But that's, like, one of my few criticisms with Omnia on their posts about this.
Going anywhere.
Oh,
That's
no,
because
it's
you
not.
don't
That's
want
why I
to.
want
If
to
it's
say
going
that.
anywhere, then I'm just gonna hang up.
No,
I mean, that's fine.
listen.
I can get a hold of your mom. I can get a hold of your mom either way. So, do you want me to call her while she's in the middle of going to bed at night, or do you want me to call her early in the morning? Which way is she more likely to hit you?
Please.
Like, again, why are you bringing that up? It's just, like, it sounds here like her mom maybe is abusive or something, but it's just like, what is the point of being like, oh, well, like, what time is she more likely to hit you at? Like, it's just like, what does that bring to the conversation? Seriously. It doesn't add anything aside from punching down and making someone feel scared and like, and trapped and pushing them against the wall, which is still not going to get you the response you're looking for.
I don't want my personal life to get in the way.
And also, please, if you do ever change your mind, please let me know whenever you get a Mama Slut hole in here, because I would love to speak to her.
So that was that. I just need to move on to this one. So there is this clip
when Lio said he'd call your mommy, and you started crying and begging, and then the moment Zaid started talking to you, snapped right out of it. Because the thing is that you are absolute trash. You sit here talking about Zaid all the time. You're always like, oh my god, he's absolutely horrible. And the whole time you've pretended to have trauma. You don't.
Again, it's just like, this clip is basically Peaches invalidating Rosa's trauma, and it's just like, that's not for you to decide whether someone has trauma or not. I mean, like, it's just, and someone can be a bad person and still have trauma, and maybe you're looking at her actions and you're like, oh, well, her symptoms of PTSD or trauma do not align with my own symptoms of PTSD. Guess what? It manifests differently from everyone. People can have PTSD from stuff like grooming, SA, like maybe like, you know, like a medical surgery gone wrong, losing a family member, a car accident, like a house fire, like an abusive relationship, losing a parent, like, you know, like, there's so many different causes of PTSD and trauma. No singular person is going to deal with it in the same way. And again, it's just like, by invalidating her trauma, where does that get you in the conversation? Is it leading to a more productive conversation? Is it bringing justice to the victims? Or is it making you look like a dickhead? Because I think it's the latter, where it's making you look like a dickhead. And it's not providing anything of substance to the conversation. You're just being a jerk for the sake of being a jerk, and because you know you have a platform, and people are just gonna let it slide and not call you out on it. And then there's this.
No. Then can you tell me what specific means?
For real, I guess.
For real, I guess? No.
Again, what is the mocking tone about here? It's just like, you don't have to like her, but what is being mocking and rude accomplishing here? How did this add to the conversation? Like, what do the victims even think about all this? It's like, I get that there can be something cathartic about hearing about, like, you know, kind of like taking your frustrations out on the people who have hurt you or defended your abusers. It can be cathartic in a way, but I feel like that can only give you so much in terms of healing, because it's kind of like a momentary thing where you can kind of get your frustrations out and anger out towards these people that have hurt you, but at the end of the day, it's only going to last for so long, and if you haven't actually been able to heal the wounds and stuff like that, and you haven't actually been able to heal from what happened, well, then, like, that momentary relief you got from taking your anger out on these people who've hurt you, it will just fade, and then you'll be right back to this place of having so much anger and hurt inside you and nowhere to direct it. And so it's just like, I do hope that maybe hearing these things against Rosa, maybe this was somewhat healing for the victims, even if it's not the most ethical way to go about it, but I also hope that they are just focusing on healing on their own terms, that they're seeking therapy and stuff. But it's just like, aside from like the whole, well, like, you're a bad person and this is going to be cathartic for the victims and stuff like that, and you deserve to be like called out and put down for what you did, it's just like, is this actually helping? Is it actually making things better for the victims? Like, is it helping anyone, or is it just you taking your anger out on them?
No, when I say specific, I mean the opposite of vague, which means the opposite of what you've been doing the entire time. So when I say, I want you to be more specific, and you continue to be vague, and then I say again, and Blue also tells you again to be specific, and you continue to be vague, you're going to start pissing people off, and it's going to start making us all think that you're saying sorry because you've been caught with your pants down and you're crying and blabbering like a little piss baby. So, if you're not actually sorry, you can put that away. But if you are sorry, you should know what you're saying sorry for. Which, in that case, you'd be able to say the specifics of what you're actually apologizing to. So, I'll give you the floor right now. You can either apologize for what you actually did, or you can turn around and say, you know what, Blue? I'm not sorry because I don't understand because I'm a retard. Go ahead.
Again, it's just like, so she pulls out the R slur here, and this is something that I was thinking about because it's just like, I get that there are people who use that word in terms of like, oh, well, this show is R slur or whatever like that, and I don't personally agree with that. Like, any slurs, I tend to avoid using them in my vocabulary just because I don't think it's right, even if you're not directly putting down someone with a mental disability. Like, I think that it's a problematic thing in and of itself to use those terms in general, but I also can't police people's language, and the best I can do is just like, if someone I know is using that term over and over again in their vocabulary and like they refuse to change, well, then the best I can do is just disassociate myself with that person and try and find better company, because like I can tell them, hey, what you're saying is wrong, I don't agree with that, but at the end of the day I can't stop what comes out of people's mouth. I can only choose who I associate with. But I think it just adds a whole other layer of messed up when you are using that word to someone who is mentally handicapped and stuff, because you are actually actively using that slur against them to hurt them. Like, it would be like, you know, like if the person Rosa shoes, maybe they weren't mentally handicapped, but maybe they were like a person of color and the N slur was used to put them down. Like, it's not okay. And like, Peach is making fun of Rosa's mental abilities and stuff. It's uncalled for. Like, you can tell that she's not, like, I don't think it's to any fault of her own, but just whatever she's struggling with, she's not at the same level as the rest of them are, and I don't think she's intentionally trying to be, like, make things difficult, but I just genuinely think she doesn't understand, and the way she is going to go about apologizing and handling the situation is probably going to be a lot different than someone like Peaches or Lio would handle it if they were in her position, because they function differently. Their brain works differently. Their brain works in a more, like, healthy, I guess, manner, because there's no brain damage or anything there. There's no, like, disorders like seizures and stuff like that. There's no extra stuff clouding their mind, but we just have to be aware that in someone like Rosa's shoes, you could try and reason with them and explain to them what they're doing is wrong, but there still might be a chance that the way they're going to apologize and handle the situation is not going to be the same as what we would expect or want from them, simply because they're not capable of giving a response or input to that same level that we're expecting. Like, you have to, like, yes, what she did was still wrong, but you have to kind of go into it with different expectations and different standards, and the knowledge that, like, hey, we might not get the response we're looking for or the conversation we're looking for, and we might have to address this in a different way just because of the fact that, like, she's gonna think differently, she's gonna handle things differently, she might not understand specific words and stuff, and that's to no fault of her own, but then you just have to handle the conversation in a different way, if that makes sense. And then this is the last clip I want to bring up before I'm probably going to start talking about my own thoughts and feelings. Now, I watched the video by Kumo and Akumo on this, and I'm not a fan of either of their channels. I don't even know who these people are. It sounds like they've been in drama before, and, like, as I was watching some of their videos, some of the words and stuff they use, like, I heard them using the R slur or, like, using autism as an insult, which I disagree with, but it doesn't seem to me like either of them are terrible people. It just seems like they're very morally gray, like, there is some valid points, and so that's why I still watch the videos, because it's just like, well, there can still be good within the bad, and I want to at least hear it out. But this one clip here stood out to me as something it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I kind of want to address it. I don't know. I'll just bring it up here. Comes up.
Huh? Your favorite's in the chat, but he can go
Where'd
away.
you go off?
Go on.
Oh, Kumo?
Yeah.
What did...
Look at these silly adults in productive conversation. I work more than you do, boy, and I don't make people cut themselves. October 23rd.
Wait, Kumo's...
Wait, hold on. Kumo's saying, look at these silly, willy productive adults contributing to our society when they're literally a dumbass who came to you crying because they were caught making girls cut themselves.
I'm not gonna lie, bro.
Okay, and then right about here.
Report that since accepting the truth, my nightmares have ceased, and I'm contingent upon follow-up appointments with Dr. Spinell in the future. Sincerely, John Ward. We don't talk about Kumo, Momo. Peaches is the keyboard ASMR champion.
Sorry.
Kumo asked a girl to cut his name into her leg and frame the bloody handkerchief. I banned him from the Senate, and now he hangs out with zoophiles who talk about raping me. Now, those of
So, what I want to say to that is, I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. I don't know. I have no idea. But the one thing I did want to say is just the way it looks like this was handled is, like, maybe Peaches and Kumo have bad blood. Okay, that's fine. But bringing up stuff like SH and, like, zoophiles and stuff like that in a stream, like, yes, it's a horror stream, so maybe you could say that, like, oh, well, people who are going to be watching this stream, they're going to be coming in already listening for more edgy stuff, because, like, it's a horror game, right? But it's just to bring that stuff up unprompted when you have a big audience that's watching and stuff, it's just, like, I just feel like it's not professional or not warranted sharing that kind of information or just bringing it up unprompted or unannounced. Like, especially because, like, there could be people in there who could be sensitive to those topics. Like, I think the better approach would have been to just ban Kumo or just ignore it, report it, remove the comment, rather than acknowledging it. Because what you're doing is you're bringing up sensitive topics into a stream, and it's just like, what is the point of spreading that information? Or just making a big deal out of it. Yes, his comment was annoying, and it was probably a little bit of a thorn in the side, but you could have easily just taken a more mature approach, banned him, removed the comment, and just been the bigger person. And if he kept on, then okay, fine, speak up, do something or whatever, but why do you need to drag all the gory details into the mud in front of people who might not have a chance to even click off if they're not ready for that? I don't know, that just rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm probably gonna just take a breather, and then I'll come back here, and I'm gonna provide some of my own thoughts on the situation outside of this stuff. So I'll be right back with that. Okay, so now... Oh, I don't even know where to begin with all this. I just figured I'd put a game on in the background while I chat, because honestly, this whole situation is just so heavy and draining. I could use something a little bit lighter to help me de-stress, and hopefully this will be enjoyable background stuff for the people watching, a little bit change of scenery. But I'm just... See, I don't know where to begin with Peaches, because I kind of always had a bit of a weird gut feeling about her. And, like, I remember someone saying after the Creepshow situation went down, where it's like, well, people come out and say, oh, well, I had a bad gut feeling about this person, but then why didn't you speak up if you had a bad gut feeling? If we all had a bad gut feeling, we all would have said something. And I think that's a lot easier said than done, because, I mean, like, for me, I guess it was a case of, like, I didn't have, like, necessarily a bad gut feeling about Peaches, but I just always had kind of, like, a weird gut feeling that I couldn't put my finger on. It was the way she presented herself, the way she talked, that it seemed like she was a good person on paper, but I just couldn't get behind it. I couldn't get into her content. There was just something about the way she presented herself that rubbed me the wrong way, and so I occasionally watched a video from her, but otherwise I just kind of stayed clear, because there was always something in my gut that told me, like, hey, just watch out, and I guess my intuition turned out to be right. But I think a lot of times, like, you know, like, maybe people do speak out about their bad gut feelings, but people don't listen to them because, like, they're gonna take the creator's perspective over, like, just some random nobody. And plus, sometimes, I mean, like, our gut feelings can be wrong, or we might not trust them. And I say our gut feelings can be wrong, but I mean, like, have you ever had, like, a situation where like, let's say, for example, like, maybe, like, you're overly anxious or overly on guard all the time, and maybe there's a situation where someone comes up to you in public, and your mind jumps to the worst case scenario. Like, what if they start harassing me? Like, they look suspicious. What if they're gonna, like, attack me or something like that? You know, your mind goes to the worst case scenario, and you almost have this gut feeling that something bad's gonna happen, but then it turns out that, like, they're just asking, like, oh, do you know when the next bus is coming? Or something simple like that. And then it's one of those experiences where you can kind of question your gut instinct at times, because you're just like, well, I was on guard and I thought for sure something was gonna happen, and it didn't happen, so maybe I'm just being overly paranoid. Like, you know, I'm just being overly on guard. I need to just not be so overly protective in the future. And so then you kind of start dismissing your gut feelings at times, because you're just like, oh, I'm just being overly paranoid. I'm just worrying and assuming the worst case scenario, and then that can kind of stop you from realizing the red flags before they happen. It's why sometimes people get into, like, abusive relationships and stuff, because, like, they see the red flags, but they ignore them because in their head they're just kind of like, well, it's not as bad as I'm making it out to seem. Like, I'm just being overly paranoid, or look at all the good things they have. They can change. Like, they can fix themselves. And, like, we just have a tendency to brush past those things. And I don't think Peaches is an inherently bad person, but, like, I've heard some people saying, like, she has kind of a victim complex, and, like, to an extent I kind of agree. Where I think some of it is probably coming from is, like, Peaches has used her mental health as a bit of a crutch in the past, but also I think that maybe, like, with, like, this, like, predator hunting and stuff like that, it's kind of done in a way to, like, protect people, because she's gone through stuff when she was younger and she doesn't want that to happen to anyone else. But the way she goes about it, talking to these people and stuff, it's almost like a way of getting her anger and frustration out that she couldn't take out on her abuser, in my perspective. But it kind of gives her free rein to, like, take advantage of the fact that, yes, she has a platform and she can use that to her advantage. And I've seen clips about, like, Peaches and Laya going into, like, servers and saying, like, we're investigators on, like, predation cases and stuff, and it's just like, you guys aren't actually police officers and stuff. Like, yes, I think it is good in some ways what they're doing, especially because, like, I know, like, some people are just like, oh, we'll just leave it to the police. Well, sometimes the police are corrupt, or, you know, or they don't take this stuff seriously. Like, you've seen cases where it's like people who essay others or do stuff like that, they'll get, like, 3 months, 5 months, a year in jail, and then you'll see, like, someone else go to jail for, like, 5 years for robbing a bank, and it's just like, how is the system so unbalanced? And then you see cases of, like, SA harassment and stuff like that, or, like, even, like, child abuse and stuff like that, but you see these cases where they get reported to the police and then the police don't do anything, and then it makes people think, oh, well, if they're not going to do anything, then, like, I don't know, like, is it even worth going to them in the first place? And so maybe, like, these, like, predator hunters and stuff like that, they approach it from a place of, like, well, we're gonna spread awareness online. We're gonna make people aware of what's happening on the internet. But I also think a lot of kids and stuff who are gonna be vulnerable to these types of people, they're not gonna be out there looking for predator hunting content. You're just mostly gonna be attracting other adults and stuff. Well, yes, it's still good to make them aware, but that's not really the target audience that you're looking to warn against. And then what it does do is, like, if there is ever something that could potentially be, like, it could potentially be damning for, like, this person to get them sent off to jail, well, a lot of times with, like, these online investigations, it could ruin that evidence or make it, like, you know, it's not admissible in court, and then like, the whole case ends up getting thrown out, and it's such a morally tricky situation, because it's like, well, then what is the right thing to do? Because it's like, on the one hand, you could go to the police and have the police not do anything, and you could keep pushing, and maybe the police will never take it seriously, or you could go online and try and get it, like, word spread online, but there's still no guarantee that anything will happen that way. I mean, like, I still think the best course of action is to go to the police and hope that they'll do something, but it's still just a really tricky situation, and I think that even if Lio and Peaches want to go about trying to help people in this way, they need to be aware of the fact that they're not, like, experts on this. They're not trained professionals. Yes, maybe their heart is in a good place because they don't want to see kids going through this stuff, but, like, it feels like it's kind of like a ego-boosting thing, or, like, a cry for attention, or even, like, with Peaches, maybe, like, it's a way for her to heal her own trauma, which it's just, like, I get that doing things to help other people could help you heal and become a better person, but that can't be the only thing, and it's a little, I don't know, it's just the whole thing is concerning and weird, and I think that Peaches might be letting the power get to her head in some ways, and I don't think she is a bad person. I think she can do better and improve, but I don't know, it's like, I know she said before she's taking care of her mental health, but yet she's still repeating the same behaviors, and so it makes me wonder, it's like, are you treating the symptoms, and like, actively working on your mental health, or are you just kind of, like, saying that you're going to therapy, but you're not actually, like, you're kind of like, I've done this in the past where I've gone to therapy, and I said, oh, I'm in therapy, I'm getting better and stuff, and maybe it was treating the symptoms, but I didn't actually take the time and put in the effort to work on myself, and work on my own personal flaws, and so I wasn't really depressed or, like, hating myself anymore, but I still wasn't in the greatest of headspaces, and I still made mistakes, and I wasn't the best person as a friend at times, because, like, yes, I was going to therapy, but I wasn't really doing the inner work that needed to be done outside of that, and so I still wasn't where I needed to be, and I still had, like, bad behaviors and stuff, and I'm a little bit concerned with Peaches that maybe she's going to therapy, maybe she's not, like, trauma dumping, or, like, you know, like, endgame baiting or whatever like that anymore, which, I mean, like, I do believe that her mental health struggles were real, and that's not my place to comment on them, but I do worry that she's not actually addressing some of, like, the issues with her behavior and her actions, and she's just letting herself run amok, and I think that if she can actually work on those behaviors and work to be a better person, then she can improve a lot, because I think she has potential to be a really good person, and I don't think at her core she is a bad person, like, which I know it's like she's used, like, slurs and stuff like that in some of those clips, and that's probably weird for me to say, but I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt and assume that, like, hopefully she's not actually, like, an ableist person in real life who would put people down with disabilities, like, but I don't know, because, like, I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, because I don't want to say the worst and just be like, oh, well, you're being a horrible person, you don't deserve a platform, you deserve to be cancelled, but I think she really needs to work on herself, and I do think that there's something to be said that's, like, other creators don't necessarily need to speak out when their friends do bad things, they don't necessarily need to make big posts, like, disowning them and stuff. There is something to be said, too, for waiting for more evidence to come out, waiting for the other person to share their side, but I do think that creators, like, you know, like, they should be taking steps to, like, call out their behaviors in their friends when they see it, like, even if it's just one-on-one, or just doing something with their platform to, like, make it known that, like, hey, I don't agree with this behavior, and maybe I'm not disowning this person, but, like, until further notice, like, I'm not gonna be associating with them, or at the very least, like, just one-on-one anyways, distance yourself from that person if you haven't already, like, if you feel comfortable, because it's just, like, and I don't know. And what drives me insane is how, like, there's this big talk in the community about, like, power dynamics and, like, abuse of power and stuff like that, and yet there are little creators who will, like, littler creators than Peaches who will, like, befriend bigger creators, and in an essence they are creating power dynamics between themselves and the bigger creator, and this might be a hot take, but I'd like to call them also somewhat parasocial relationships, because think of it this way, like, I get that there's like a thing called networking and stuff, but more often than not, when other creators are meeting other creators, how are they going to meet each other? Normally, I would say it's because they watch a video from another creator and they discover that they like their content. Maybe, like, in the art commentary community, it's because they like their art or something similar. But regardless, like, unless you meet in a situation that is completely detached from the content you create, and it is just a case of, like, maybe you meet on a forum for YouTubers and stuff like that, and you end up talking without, like, your content being first and foremost, what your first impression of, like, the other creator is going to be is based off their content, and if you like that and you end up becoming, like, a fan of your content, well, guess what? There is still a bias there, and you are basing your impressions off of that creator's work and not the person themselves, because that is the thing with the internet, is people can hide behind personas, and, like, they can edit themselves to look like a better person, and I know that that's probably really controversial, but I do think it is, like, a real thing, because, you know, it's like you see creators networking and stuff, and then they become all surprised when these people that they befriended are not the people they thought they were, and I think that there is still something to be said for there being a power dynamic, because, like, someone with, like, 10k subs versus 100k subs, well, like, the person with 100k subs could take advantage of the smaller channel, or the smaller channel could take advantage of, like, the bigger channel and make a video being like, oh, well, this bigger channel is taking advantage of me, and they're a bad person, because there are a lot of people out there who they will, like, they're gonna believe the little guys in the situation because of the whole, like, Me Too movement and stuff like that, where people want to believe the victims and they want to tear down the people in the positions of power. But I don't know, it's just, I have a lot of mixed feelings on the situation, but my general thoughts are just, like, Peaches isn't a bad person, but there is a lot of really problematic and questionable behavior, and I think she should be called out on it and held more accountable, because I don't think, from what I've seen, it doesn't look like she has addressed any of, like, the ableist comments or stuff, and I really think that that needs to be addressed publicly. In my opinion, like, she does not owe me an apology. I wouldn't even say she owes Rosa an apology, because I don't know if it's the right thing to say that someone like that necessarily deserves an apology or not. I don't know, because it's such a weird situation. Some people are going to say yes, some people are going to say no. Like, so I don't know what to say on that, because it's just such a messy situation. But I would like to see Peaches being held accountable and actually showing that, hey, she is aware of her position as a creator, and that she is in a position of power, and that she is going to do better moving forward, that she is going to watch her language, especially if she, like, it doesn't sound like she's going to continue doing that predator hunting stuff, but regardless, in any sensitive situations, to try and find balance in herself and in her emotions before she approaches them, to not use derogatory language, because if you have a goal to, like, find justice and resolve the situation, using derogatory language, putting someone down, being mocking, backing them into a corner, that's not going to achieve you the results you want to achieve. All it's going to achieve is making you feel powerful and making you feel like you're tearing down this big evil villain, and that you are the moral hero in the situation because you defeated the big evil villain and saved the day. And that's not, like, it's such a black and white picture of what the truth actually is, because the truth is somewhere in the middle, and you can still handle those situations with respect, even if you don't think that the other person is deserving of respect. You can handle yourself in a way that is stern and firm, but not derogatory, and that still gets your point across. So those are just my thoughts. This is going to be an extremely long video, But to those of you who have watched, thank you for hearing me out. Like, this is just a very raw, unscripted mess. And this isn't my usual kind of content. Like, my channel is just something where I don't really have a goal with it. Like, I'm not the best at video editing or anything like that. But I just kind of want to share snippets of my life, snippets of things that I love. And this is just something that when I saw it, it really irked me and rubbed me the wrong way. And I did not feel right sitting silent on this. And I don't think that this video is going to get much attention. Maybe I'll get like 10, 20, 30 views, maybe 40. Maybe it'll blow up, but I highly doubt that. But if even one person can see this and it can maybe change the way that they view the situation or cause them to reflect and challenge their own perspectives, or even just like, that's kind of my goal, is even if you're disconnected from the situation, maybe this can help you do some self-reflection into your own actions, into your own flaws, and help you identify patterns and stuff that maybe you see in Peaches. Maybe you've also, I don't know. I like helping people. I like trying to offer my own opinion that I like to think is somewhere in the middle. And I hope that I've been able to provide a balanced perspective. Sure, it's not the most clean and polished video, but you know what? That's okay. Because I'd rather be raw and authentic and give my genuine opinion than try and play one side or the other. And I know that there's probably going to be people who attack me or don't like my opinion, and that's okay, because I'm not saying Peaches is some evil monster who deserves to rot, and I'm not saying that she's a perfect angel either. I'm saying that she's a human, that she is not necessarily good or bad, but she is in between. She has flaws. She still needs to grow and work on herself, but it is doable. But in order to do that, she needs to actually take accountability and work on herself as a person, and to not make excuses and to not repeat the same behavior. Because yes, she has been a victim at times. There's genuine things that have been done that have hurt her, that she has there are valid points that she can complain about, and, that she can stand up for herself about, but there are also some behaviors that are just inexcusable, and that you can't tell me that there wasn't a better way to handle that situation, because there definitely was, and I just want to see accountability and change moving forward. So those are all the points I had to make today. Hopefully I won't have to make another follow-up video on that, because this has been really draining, but I just want to get this out there. So thank you so much for watching. You can tell I'm tired already just by the way I'm slurring my words. But thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback in the comments, but I know this is probably a bit of a doozy, so thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go, cleanse your mind with something positive and refreshing. Go get some sunlight if you can in this horrible winter weather, and just look after yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, and maybe I'll see you in one of my next videos if you like horse stuff or whatever. So just thank you for watching.